Hi, I'm Akia Garnett, your host for the Akia Garnett Show, and welcome. The Akia Garnett Show is on every Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard. And you can find out more about the Akia Garnett Show at akiagarnett.com. I'm also the host for My Brand Chat, which is a weekly Twitter show every Tuesday night on Twitter, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, and iBrand Chat, the I stands for International, and that's on at 9:15 every Tuesday night. You know, we're talking about this topic today, which is called Brand the Star You Really Are. And I have been branding for quite some time. I love, love, love what I do. I love helping entrepreneurs and small business owners bring their best selves, bring themselves to the light. I love to help them wrap an image around who they really are in corporate branding form. So their logo, helping them pull out from what's in them, the best that they actually have to contribute to the marketplace in their own way, is something that I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to do. And I've done this for small businesses and entrepreneurs for some time. I'm also a writer for Minority Business Entrepreneur magazine, helping small business owners who read that magazine understand exactly how they can do the same thing. And I've got a few other things that are going on out there. If you want to learn more about the things that I've got going on, again, go to akiagarnett.com. So this topic, Brand the Star You Really Are, is something that, I have had the opportunity to craft with my guest, Emily Katz. And Emily is this amazing rock star gift to the East Coast. The Akia Garnett Show is brought to you out of the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. We've got a transplant here now. Her name is Emily Katz, and she's done amazing work on the West Coast, and she's brung her expertise on this side of the world so that she can do what she's done on the West Coast here, but even more of it, and on a much different level and a deeper level to herself as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, and as someone who really gets to cherry pick and determine who she wants to work with now in this phase of her career. So some of the people that you may know who have done business with Emily and who she's had the privilege of making up include folks like Brett Butler and Robert Redford and
Martin Sheen and
Kevin Bacon Sharon Stone
Minnie
and
Driver,
Morris Chestnut. I mean, Lindsay Lohan. I mean, who else? You name it. She's had some opportunity to do some kind of work with them. She's also the Elle Beauty Genius Award winner for the work that she did on ABC's show Lost. If you were familiar with that show, then you know that the people on that show always looked as if they were never totally beaten down. They always looked good on camera, even though they'd been in desperation, and that's because they were working with Emily Katz. And, and so we're going to talk about how to bring forward the star that's inside of each of us when it comes to branding ourselves and showing up. And Emily's going to leave us with some tips. She's going to give us some really great insight into not only what this thing is all about, branding the star that we really are, but also some of the things that have held us back from really being able to articulate from our core. And the work that she has done with researching why it has been such a challenge for us to do that very simple thing, which is brand the star we really are. So, and to be the star we really are. So Emily, before we get started, can you tell people where they can get a hold of you before we get started?
Sure. They can get a hold of me at www.ektruth.com. That's EK like Emily Katz, truth, TRUTH.com.
Great. And Emily, let's start out with why it has been difficult for people to own that greatness and bring that greatness to light and wear that greatness. What have you found in your career?
I found a number of things actually in my career, a lot of which is that we have belief systems that hold us back from really allowing the true beauty, power, strength that we are to come forward and shine for any multitude of reasons. And so when I'm working with people, what I really like to do is allow them to come out and to really feel safe enough to get a sense of who that is that they are, that real true power and beauty, and then embrace it and move forward from that place and show that out into the world.
Yeah, and have you found that, because you've worked with, of course, superstars, and everybody has something that they really want to minimize and something that they'd like to maximize, what we call our limitations or our liabilities and our assets.
Yes.
Have you
Yes.
found have you found that that's what people really want you to do when you're branding them?
When I'm branding them, yes. When I'm working with someone who is on camera, an actor who's on camera, they're preparing for a role. And when someone's in a role, that is a different persona that they take on to create that character and then put that out into camera. So working with people personally and branding them personally, it's almost like reverse engineering. We go through whatever they think their personas are or they have been projecting and work to who they truly are inside and then what it is they want to put out so that that image that they are putting out and have crafted, that we craft together, is something that is very appealing to their clientele and also to the world. When they stand up and show up in the world, they have a better platform to project and speak their truth, and that in turn draws the clientele to them.
And how do you work with, people who say, even here in the Beltway in Washington D.C. area, this amazing business, savvy environment of people who are really looking to put their best foot forward. They're not really looking to show up like Hollywood, although inside they may have a little desire to be a superstar.
Yeah.
How do you bring that? How do you transition that to this area and helping people understand why'd you chose to come here to do what you're doing?
Okay, that's a few
That's
questions.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm going to go backward.
Yeah.
First of all, I chose to come here because of family and also because I love the area. And I really had a sense that this is a place where not only would I feel comfortable, but I could work with people here and help them thrive so that they would really have a better sense of themselves as well. One of the reasons that I love what I do, and that helps to translate to working with people in whatever walk they are, because I'm not a very Hollywood type of person in my everyday way of being.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think you have a sense of that,
Yeah.
and working with people who are business people who don't want to look glitzy and showy. They just want to really come into the fullness of themselves and really represent themselves for who they know they are. And sometimes there just seems to be this gap between what it is that we put out into the world and the way that we know that we are, and we just don't know exactly how to bridge that. So I'm the person that helps to bridge that for them and get them into a place that fits within the parameters of whatever business world that they're working in. Because clearly, somebody in law is not going to need to show up in a leopard outfit in court.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Unless, of course, you're an attorney who wants to show up in a leopard outfit.
Yeah.
Maybe that would prove
something.
Maybe. But generally, I really understand my clients' businesses because I understand corporate business and how that looks and various other walks of life. And we all have a kind of different skew as to how it is that should look and the way that we feel like we want it to look.
And speaking of corporate business, I mean, you do corporate work. You've got presentations, trainings with corporations. You do some one-on-ones with high-level, executives in corporations to help them show up as themselves authentically. That's amazing. And I would have to imagine that part of that has to do with your ability to work with people who are transitioning into some role. They are moving from whatever state of being mentally to another state of being, and with that comes the need to accentuate it in the way that we look. Right?
That's very true. When people are elevating out of one level of position into a higher level of position, there's a certain amount of a power shift that occurs, both internally as far as work goes, and also, without sounding too na-na-nu-nu, energetically.
Yeah.
And what happens is when that energetic becomes more powerful, oftentimes it's kind of like a snake shedding its skin. The person looks upon themselves the way that they had been and sees, I need to transform this.
Mm-hmm.
Because the transition needs to be supported by more than just the job elevation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about necessarily making somebody into a whole new person. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just supporting them in that elevation of transition, so that they can really stand in that power and
Mm-hmm.
be who they know that they are in that place of power.
You know, it's very interesting to talk to you because I know that you've worked with A-list celebrities.
Yes.
You also get to work at the very highest echelons, you know, with corporations, large
Mhm.
corporations, mid-sized corporations. You've done some amazing work, but you've also done some research on why, you know, we tend to have reservations or fears regarding the, you know, the way we show up, or the way that, you know, I'll just take it a step further when it comes to women, and how women after a certain age really have that challenge with showing up and being accepted for, you know, who we are, and actually believing that we deserve the pay that we want to, you know, receive based on whatever the market says, the positions, the whatever position or whatever status in life. You've done some work and talked about what has, you know, held women back and what currently holds us back. And can you just shed a little light on that? Because I
Sure.
find it very interesting.
Sure. One of the things that I'm doing, and my book that is coming out hopefully this fall, but it's in progress, is The Invisibility Quotient. And the reason I call it that is because there's a certain amount of fading away or invisibility that seems to happen the older people get. But let's address women right now, because that's the salient issue that I think we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
And it often happens either after they have children or just reach a certain age, and they start just, for whatever reason, making the decision that it's okay that they don't show up anymore, and they start fading back, sort of like wallpaper into the wall, you know, the proverbial wallflower kind of thing. And this is at a point in our lives when we are particularly viable and wise and have so much to contribute, and yet there's something societally, because we're in such a youth culture, that tells us that we don't really have value anymore. And it's such a disconnect, because that's when we have so much value. So what I love to do is to speak to women and to men that it's really important to come back across that bridge. I guess I'm in the bridge theme right now.
Yeah.
Come back across that and connect to that place when they felt the most alive and vibrant, with all that wisdom that they're now bringing forward, and really bring that back out into the world. Because we end up with all these beliefs that either society's put on us, or a family, or heaven only knows where we get our beliefs from, that we perceive as true, when they are just beliefs. They're not truth, they're beliefs. That either we don't really have something to say, we're not good enough, who would want to listen to me anyway, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough. Whatever it is, we have all this constraint that we put on ourselves, and using that, it becomes kind of a trap and a prison that pulls us even further back, away from being upfront and present and really contributing in the world. And I'm not saying that people have to get out and like, I'm going to make a difference in the world kind of thing, but just to really show up for themselves too. And that's what I really want to support people doing. So when I work with people, it's not just about putting new clothes on them or giving them some makeup, or for guys doing grooming and saying, wow, you look fabulous now. It's really about helping them serve themselves and out there in the world by letting go of those beliefs that are limiting factors.
Yeah, you know, there's that popular saying, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm this firm believer of making it so you don't have to fake it. You know,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
see and I hear, you know, especially if you've been working in Hollywood, you're used to actors, you're used to working with people who know how to fake it. And I'm not saying the actors are faking it, I'm just saying that they're role playing, they're acting. So
Yes.
they are not being themselves on camera. They're being the characters that they were, hired to be on camera. That's exactly what they're being. But when you're working with entrepreneurs and small business owners, sometimes they feel as if they've got to be an actor as well, because they haven't figured out how to be themselves, to show up and to know and trust that the person that they are is the person that people want to hire. And so when you talk about, well, I'm not just going to go and help you buy new clothing or help you with your wardrobe or come and do your closet inspection. I know you do all those things.
That's right.
I know you do your makeup application and things like that, and your workshops and all that, and grooming and all of that great stuff. But at the end, you're still dealing with the core of a person.
Absolutely.
And so how do you get through the clutter so that you can get at that star that people really are and help them to brand that person? What is perhaps one of the things that you do when you begin working with people?
First of all, a lot of how it is that I reach that inner core of the person is intuitive. So I can't specifically address how that happens because it's something that's very organic and I don't really have a scientific approach to that. But the part of the scientific approach that I do have is asking questions, really listening. There's such a difference when you're speaking with someone to hearing them and really listening to what they say. It's as if catching the breath in the silence between the words and recognizing what that person really is, wants to be, asking them sometimes they won't be able to address it themselves, what the fear is that's holding them back, or where they feel like their strongest suits are. So I work with them as gently as possible to get the answers to the questions that help me. And I often ask them, what are your style icons? What do you really want to look like? What do you least like about yourself? So that I have a sense of some of where they have some energetic held either against themselves or where their aspirations are. And that can really help to whittle down to what that core essence is.
That's awesome. And when you get finished branding people, do they tend to look a lot different than what they thought they might look like?
Interestingly, no one that I have worked with has looked so utterly different that they say, oh my God, nobody's going to recognize me.
Good, because I think that would be scary, right?
Yes.
That would be scary for people, and I think that's what many people fear when they go to work with an image stylist or someone like yourself. They would fear that they're going to be so different that, it's going to be something really difficult for them to maintain. It's going to be something that's unbelievable. People aren't going to believe them. It's not going to be authentic. So to hear you say that what you start with is very similar but different and better than what they end up with is very refreshing to hear.
Well, thank you. Because I feel like I'm not Henry Higgins with Eliza Doolittle, where I'm taking somebody and really recreating them.
Yeah.
Because unless somebody really wants it.
Unless they really want that.
Yeah, unless they really want that. Because most people, for example, when women go to a department store, no offense to any of you department store makeup artists, this is just something that I hear a lot. They get done, and then they say, I couldn't get to the bathroom fast enough to get all that makeup off because I'd never wear that much. And when working with a person, what I know is that if you do something that is incongruent, or disingenuous for who that person perceives themselves to be, that there's such a disconnect that either they won't trust me anymore, or they'll feel like, what was wrong with me because now I look so different, I just don't feel good about myself, or was I that bad in the first place? And that's not it at all. I don't try to make people completely different. I just want to help them ascend to that most miraculous starlit place that is them, not somebody else.
That's amazing.
That would be like putting an actor in a role again.
Yeah, that's amazing. So that starlit place,
Yes.
I love that, and that's branding the star. We really are people. I love it. You
Yes.
wouldn't have heard it from anybody else except for Emily Katz. So, Emily, tell us about some of the work that you've done, some of the great things that you've done, because you've worked with a lot of amazing people. So, just help us understand some of the fun you've had on set, and and all of those great places.
Okay, well, some of the fun I'll talk about is working on Lost. Working in the film business, people often have this outside perception that it's all glamour.
Yeah.
And the thing is
not
that
right.
no, when you're working what we call in the trenches, in the front lines,
yeah,
it's really hard work, and it's not necessarily pretty. I remember one time a friend of mine was going to come and visit the set of Lost, and I said, wear your mud boots. And she shows up with these little teeny shoes on, and I said, what are you doing? I said, mud boots. She said, well, these are my mud shoes. I said, you look under the trailer. You see those pairs of boots with mud up to the top of them? They were knee-high boots. She said, yeah. I said, yeah. Fortunately, we wore the same size. I said, put on one of my pairs of boots. We take the four-wheel van up into the jungle, and it's a mess, and it's pouring rain, and it's deep mud, and we step out up to our knees. And she looked at me and said, oh, gee, this is what you do. Like, yeah, that's right. I stand in the pouring rain in the mud. But it's amazing to do a show, for example, like Lost, that was part of the iconic fabric of society when it was being broadcast. Because shows like that hadn't been done. Now there are a lot of copies of it.
Yeah.
So working on something like that where...
Yeah, that was like one of the first reality shows, right? Or was it
Well, it wasn't a reality show at all. It was entirely scripted.
Yeah.
And people would often say to me, oh, that's like Survivor. It's like, yeah, except it's all
except it was
a drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all fabricated.
Yeah.
None of it's real. But the thing was that what we wanted to do was to create a look for the show that was so utterly believable that there was not a moment when you would look at these people and have that suspend your disbelief. Well, they can't really be in the jungle because they look too good.
Yeah.
That they all looked like they were in the jungle.
Yeah.
But yet ABC wanted them to still, the women, to still look pretty. So let's see, how do you make people who've been on a desert island where they're being followed by a smoke monster, other, catastrophic things are happening, they're being exposed to all the elements and still look good.
Yeah, that sounds like the work environment here in the D.C. metro area.
That's right. You know what? It is. It's the same thing, only different, which is probably why I ended up wanting to move here, because it was just the same thing, only different.
I hear the similarities big time.
That's right. That's right. I like that parallel, like Lost, parallel universes.
Wow, that's great. That must have been fascinating.
It was. It really was. And I worked on the show for years, and it was just such a remarkable experience. The whole thing was shot in Hawaii. And
you've lived in Hawaii for a long time.
That's right. I grew up in Hawaii.
Tell us about that. I mean, how was that?
Growing up in Hawaii?
Well, just being there for such an... I have some friends that are from Hawaii, but they can't get there enough to spend enough time there. They're on a plane as often as they can be, but they live here.
Well, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. It really is. And the Hawaiian culture is so rich. It really is such a wonderful, dynamic culture, and a lot of the history of Hawaii has been overlooked, and I could go into the whole thing about statehood and how things have happened that a lot of people don't know about. But basically, Hawaii is just a wonderful, wonderful place. We're very fortunate that that's part of America. That, it's the most remote landmass in the world, but it's part of America.
Well, what about some of the film work, not the film work that you've done, but some of the photo work that you've done? I mean, you're a contributing writer for a few magazines, right? Or
yes,
you've done some work. So what about all of those great things?
Well, I do work for Skin Inc. magazine. I contribute oftentimes to that magazine. And Skin Inc. is like a trade magazine. No, it's not like a tattoo magazine or something else. It's a trade magazine for the skincare and spa industry. And so I've written a number of articles about skincare or about how to address certain things as far as makeup goes, or they did a big article on me when I was the department head of Lost about Lost and how I managed working with the elements and how we maintain the skin through all of that, because I'm also a licensed esthetician. And even though I don't practice as an esthetician, that background has really served me well working in the film business and with all that I do with human beings. So that's really been wonderful. But beside being a contributing writer, and I write a blog and I've contributed to other magazines here and there, I do public speaking. And what I love to speak about is not just makeup and not even just wardrobe. I do speak about up-leveling your image and why it's crucial to do that when you're in business, but also about, as we mentioned before, the invisibility and remaining relevant in the world, how important it is to really hold that place in the world and stand forward in it.
Yeah, tell us about the corporate packages that you offer. I know we mentioned that earlier, but
Yes.
how can corporations work with you if they want to bring you in and have you work with their executive teams?
What corporations can do when they're working with me is I can do either group trainings so that it's more of an overview, but it's a very educational overview. And I also work with voice, with posture, so that upper level management who needs to do presentations, because there are a lot of in-house video presentations that are done in corporations these days, have more of a presence on camera, work with the voice, with the posture, with the breathing, but also with the dress, with the makeup, how, or just mitigating, certain factors that are not pleasant to look at on camera that are fine to the eye.
Yeah.
And so I can teach that in a workshop environment or a seminar-like environment, or else I work with upper-level management and management individuals, specifically in private, doing one-on-ones.
Okay, and Emily, let me ask you, why is all of this important to you? I mean, you've dedicated your career to bringing forth beauty in others. Why have you done this? Why is this important to you?
I love that question. Nobody's really asked me that before. That's so wonderful, Akia. Thank you for asking.
You're
So I'm
welcome.
taking a moment to just ingest that. I think one thing is that I really love people. I really, really do. And I really see the beauty in everyone. That was my gift, was to see the beauty in everyone and really want to serve to evoke that and allow other people to see what I see. And that I think is why I do it.
Wow.
Because
That's amazing. I mean, we've all been taught that everybody has a little something about them that makes them special and unique and beautiful in their own way. And sometimes, we can look at a person who may not be so light, easy on the eyes, and got to squint to see, that thing. But to hear you say that you see that thing, and you want to help people bring that to light, you see the beauty in people. I just think that's beautiful, and we need people like you that can look past everything and try to help people be their best and be themselves in a way that is authentic to themselves, in a way that's not compromising or, like I said earlier, too expensive or too, difficult to maintain, or whatever the case may be. Just meet people exactly where they are and help them move from one place to the next. And I just think that's amazing. I thank you so much for doing that. What have you got going on right now aside from running EK Truth? Are you traveling, right now around the world? Are you doing, what's keeping you busy aside from running your business?
Oh, I've got a lot going on. I just finished presenting and speaking at the Albuquerque Film and Media Experience in Albuquerque. Second year, it's a really awesome festival, and that was just a terrific experience because I was speaking with on stage and also just talking to a lot of producers and directors and people who I really admire, and for all of us to collaborate together to present to the public how it is that we present our vision into the world through the work we do in film and also just in general. It was really a remarkable gift. And also I've been traveling. I'm going to Arizona working with an event this week, and then back to Los Angeles. I'm going to be doing some overseas work very shortly with some corporation over there, and I've been presenting throughout the country, and I'm working at moving that internationally. So that's keeping me really busy, and I have family, and I just love life. I'm a runner, and I like hiking, and
Wow.
I'm kind of an outdoorsy person.
That's
and,
great. And
Yeah.
it's amazing to hear you talk about all these things because as women, sometimes um, people may feel that, we have to choose in life. Are you going to be, a full-time mother? Are you going to be a woman who chases her career, and you just
Yes.
chase that career, chasing that, shiny object that's out there for yourself? Are you going to be what? And, I know that you've got, a child. I know that you've got, you've lived while you've done all these great things, and you're still doing all these great things. And what do you have to say to the woman or man out there who is, really chasing that amazing thing that they see for themselves and trying to figure out how to balance life, how to have an amazing career like you have and have had, and still live, still enjoy their life, still be able to go hiking and do all of those great things that you just mentioned and run and all that stuff. How have you done it? And what do you have to share?
Well, okay. First of all, it's not easy. I can just say that right now. When you have a family and children, especially little children, it's not easy to do everything that you want to do, and there's prioritizing, and I'm sure that my family has felt like there were some things that I shorted them on, and I feel like in career there are some things I probably shorted myself on, but at the same time, it's just, you just have to find the balance. But I also, prioritize. It's like if your family is the most important, then you need to be able to make that so. And if your work is more important, but you have a family, then you have to find where your balance point really is. Sometimes you need a time management person to come and help you with that, because it can be really overwhelming. I understand, just taking your children to whatever activities they have, plus school, plus this, plus doing the job, plus having, you need help sometimes. It does take a village.
Yeah.
That it's not
true.
a joke. It takes a village, and having a good network of people around you, I think, is really crucial. And the other thing too is, how do you achieve what you want to for success? Boy, I wish I had a really great formula for that. All I can say is that there's been some drive for me that has enabled me to see the vision and follow my heart. But there are a lot of people that I've worked with who have achieved different levels of success, and they didn't have a family, or they had their family later, or they did, we all reach where we're going at a certain point anyway, I think. And it's just having that love of yourself, not in that egotistical way, but just knowing enough to take care of yourself. And for me, one of the things I do to take care of myself is exercise and run, because that's one of my, I have to do that. But I was trained as an athlete and a dancer since I was a child, so that's my drive. So I just encourage people to do what they can to find as much balance as possible, because it's crucial.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And you just, your time is limited. I thank you for giving me some of your time to have this interview, to have this conversation. I want to help people understand that they can connect with you, and I know your time is limited, but how they can connect, that they can connect with you to learn more about the services that you offer, corporate-wise, and also one-on-one.
Yes.
How can they reach you?
The best way to reach me is Emily@ektruth.com, or they can call my business office, which is a DC-based number, 202-760-0330.
Great. Can you repeat that number one more time?
Sure. 202-760-0330.
Now, my final question for you, Emily, is:
yes,
of all the stars that you've worked with, who is one star that you are just hoping one day you get a chance to polish and shine?
Antonio Banderas.
Real.
Right off the top of my head. That's
well,
who.
Yeah. And there you have it.
And there you have it. Okay, Antonio, I don't know why that just, what came up?
Well,
Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah.
well, if you get to work with Antonio, do me a favor and put me on speed dial. I just, want to say
That's right,
hi.
and FaceTime.
Just want to say hi.
And FaceTime. No, he's
Yes.
such a good actor. I
Oh, my
remember
gosh.
seeing him in Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down.
Oh my gosh, him and Mask of Zorro had me,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just really, and, excellent acting, and,
Yes.
the kids love Puss in Boots, and,
Yeah. He's altogether yummy.
and he's funny. I mean, it's
He's
just,
altogether yummy, ladies
great.
and gentlemen.
yeah. I don't usually say that stuff about actors because I work with them all the time.
Yeah, well,
but she can.
I can say that. But it was very good to have you.
Thank you
Today. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank
Emily
you so much
Katz,
for having
you all.
me.
Emily Katz, amazing image stylist.
Thank you.
She's in the Washington, D.C. metro area.
And Los Angeles.
And Los Angeles.
And internationally.
And internationally, and Arizona and everywhere else you said.
Yeah.
And she's available to work with people who are interested in highlighting that, would you call it starlet, or would you say?
Elevating to the starlight.
Yes, elevating to the starlight is what you said. Brand yourself.
Just made that up.
Right? Brand the star you really are is the topic of today's discussion. I thank you so much, Emily. Find out more about the Akia Garnett Show at akiagarnett.com. You can also find out about things that I've got coming up on Facebook at facebook.com/even greater balance. Thank you again, Emily.
Thank you.
Take care, and remember to think big.